When did disagreement become hatred? America has never lacked political disagreement. From the founding of the Republic, citizens have argued passionately about the nation's future, but disagreement is not the same as hostility. So when did political opponents stop being fellow Americans with different ideas and begin to be viewed as enemies? Some historians point to changes in the political climate during the late 20th century. Others argue that the roots reach back much further. Still others believe the rise of partisan media, social media, and economic inequality transformed ordinary disagreement into something far more personal. Many scholars identify the 1990s, during Newt Gingrich's leadership in Congress, as an important turning point in the language and strategy of partisan politics. Others see polarization as the result of decades of cultural, economic, and technological change. This presentation is not about assigning blame, it's about asking a larger question. What happens to a democracy when disagreement becomes hatred, and how do we find our way back? It begins with disagreement. Healthy democracies depend upon it. But disagreement can change when political leaders, media, and even religious voices begin to frame those who disagree with us not as fellow citizens, but as enemies. Fear becomes a powerful motivator. Outrage attracts attention. Algorithms reward conflict. The loudest voices receive the largest audiences. Soon, compromise is portrayed as weakness. Listening becomes surrender. Winning becomes more important than understanding. The pendulum swings farther and farther from the center. Each side becomes more certain that the other side is the greatest threat to the nation. And as fear grows, trust declines, not only in one another, but in the institutions that hold a democracy together. History reminds us that polarization is not a destination, it is a process, and if it is a process, it can also be reversed. Religion has been one of humanity's greatest sources of hope. It has inspired compassion, charity, forgiveness, and the conviction that every human being possesses inherent worth. But religion has also been used to divide. Throughout history, sacred texts have been invoked to justify war, persecution, slavery, discrimination, and the concentration of power. The question is not whether religion is good or bad. The question is which vision we choose to follow. One vision emphasizes fear, obedience, exclusion, and the division of humanity into the righteous and the condemned. The other emphasizes compassion, mercy, reconciliation, and the conviction that our neighbors, even those with whom we disagree, remain worthy of dignity and respect. If America is to remain a nation dedicated to liberty and justice for all, then our public life must be shaped less by fear and more by compassion, less by condemnation and more by reconciliation. The future of democracy may depend less on the religion we profess than on the values we choose to live. History suggests that polarization can be reversed. The antidote to polarization is not silence, it is not surrender, and it is not demanding that everyone think alike. The antidote is rediscovering our common humanity. It begins by asking a simple question: what do we share before we ask how we differ? Every democracy depends on citizens who can disagree without hatred, criticize without contempt, and compete without forgetting that they remain members of the same community. Throughout history, the most enduring movements for peace have appealed not to fear, but to hope, not to vengeance, but to compassion, not to domination, but to service. When we stop asking, "Who is my enemy?" and begin asking, "How can we strengthen our common future?" the pendulum begins to slow. Democracy is not preserved by defeating one another. It is preserved when we remember that liberty and justice belong to all of us. What kind of nation do we want to become? One built upon fear or upon hope? One that divides people into the worthy and the unworthy? Or one that begins with the conviction that every person possesses inherent dignity? Throughout history, the world's great teachers have called humanity toward compassion, mercy, justice, humility, and service. Jesus the Nazarene taught us to love our neighbors and even our enemies. Buddha taught compassion and the overcoming of hatred. Many other religious and philosophical traditions have reached remarkably similar conclusions. The question before America is not which religious label we choose. The question is which values we choose to live. If our public life is shaped by compassion instead of contempt, by reconciliation instead of fear, and by service instead of domination, then democracy itself becomes stronger. The future of our nation may depend less on what we call ourselves than on how we treat one another. Democracies are not held together by elections alone. They are held together by the character of their citizens. Every generation inherits the same question: what values are strong enough to support freedom? History suggests they are not wealth, military power, or political victory. They are truth, compassion, justice, humility, service, courage. These values are found in many religious traditions and in many people who profess no religion at all. They belong to humanity. When these pillars weaken, democracies become fragile. When they are strengthened, liberty becomes possible. Democracies do not collapse in a single day. They're strengthened or weakened, one choice at a time. Every conversation, every vote, every act of kindness, every willingness to listen, every decision to treat another person with dignity rather than contempt. We cannot choose the century into which we are born. We cannot choose the challenges we inherit, but we can choose the values by which we respond. History will remember our generation, not only for the problems we faced, but for the path we chose. The future of democracy does not begin in Washington. It begins in our homes, our schools, our churches, our communities, and our hearts. It begins with us, with the choices we make, with the values we live, and with the foundation we leave for generations yet to come.